Most men destroy attraction before it even begins, not with what they say in person, but with the lifeless, desperate, predictable texts they send. The truth is brutal. If you're sending the same bland, "Hey, how are you?" messages as every other man, you've already lost her interest before she even types back. Women don't get turned on by routine. They get turned on by tension, by the unknown, by the man who leaves her wondering what he'll say next. And yet, 99% of men play it safe, smothering any spark of desire under a blanket of boring words. Have you ever noticed how some women will ghost you instantly, while others chase after men who barely lift a finger? It's not luck. It's not bad timing. It's psychology. The men who win understand that attraction isn't logical. It's emotional, primal, wired deep into her nervous system. And the way you text her can either make her feel like she's talking to another forgettable face in the crowd, or like she's just stumbled into the orbit of a man she can't get out of her head. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The same is true here. Your words dye her imagination. If your texts paint you as needy, uncertain, or unoriginal, you've already sealed your fate. But if your words paint you as bold, playful, mysterious, and unshakably masculine, she won't just reply. She'll chase. And in this video, I'm going to give you 10 texts, not cheesy pickup lines, not corny tricks, but psychological weapons that ignite desire and trigger her obsession. 10 messages that will make her lean in, laugh, blush, and crave more of you. Because once you understand this, you'll never look at texting the same way again. Before we dive into the 10 texts, let's get something straight. Words are not just words. They're signals of your frame, your masculinity, and your value. When a younger woman reads your message, she's not just looking at the letters on a screen. She's subconsciously scanning for clues. Is this man confident or insecure? Is he chasing me or pulling me into his world? Is he like everyone else? Or is he the rare one who actually gets it? Here's the hard truth most men avoid. Texting is not about over-explaining yourself or begging for her attention. It's about planting seeds of curiosity, tension, and desire in her mind. The moment you start texting like her emotional boyfriend, she files you away in the safe but boring category. And once you're there, you can't climb back out. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In texting, that means being bold enough to break the script. Stop worrying about saying the perfect thing and focus on being unpredictable, playful, and magnetic. Because the man who dares to risk rejection is the man she respects. Think about it. When's the last time you sent a message that made a woman laugh out loud? Or blush at work because she couldn't get your words out of her head? If your texts don't carry that kind of weight, then you're blending into the noise. And in today's world, where her phone is flooded with attention, blending in is death. So here's what you're about to learn. 10 texts that separate you from the masses. Each one is a psychological trigger designed to flip a switch in her mind, from indifference to interest, from curiosity to craving, from attraction to obsession. But don't make the mistake of thinking this is about manipulation. It's not. It's about speaking directly to her emotions, bypassing logic, and connecting with the side of her that hungers for a man who makes her feel alive. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to say it so that she doesn't just respond, she chases. Text 1. The disruptor. Text. Here's the first truth you need to face. Women are drowning in predictable texts. Every guy sends the same recycled garbage. "Hey, how's your day?" Or "What are you doing?" It's robotic, lifeless, and worst of all, it screams insecurity. The problem isn't just that these texts are boring. The deeper issue is they reveal a man who has no frame, no playfulness, and no ability to stand apart. And a man who doesn't stand apart is forgotten. The disruptor text flips the script. Instead of adding to the noise, you send something that shocks her brain into paying attention. It doesn't have to be outrageous. It just has to be different. Psychology calls this the pattern interrupt. When a woman expects you to play it safe and instead you drop a playful challenge, her nervous system lights up. That's attraction in its raw form. Surprise plus uncertainty plus curiosity. Take Tom, for example. He's 48, divorced, and started dating a woman 15 years younger. At first, he texted like every safe guy. Long check-ins, predictable compliments, endless updates about his day. And guess what? She drifted. She responded less, grew colder, and eventually ghosted. But then Tom shifted. One night she texted him, "What are you up to?" Instead of the usual, he replied, "Trying to decide if I should let you ruin my reputation this weekend." She didn't just reply. She called him. That's the power of disruption. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Texting is no different. The wall of her boredom is the very path to attraction. By disrupting her expectations, you transform irritation into intrigue and dullness into desire. So here's your actionable shift. The next time you feel the urge to send a safe, predictable text, stop yourself. Ask, how can I break her pattern? How can I make her feel something? Laughter, shock, curiosity, instead of nothing. Because in the end, the man who dares to disrupt is the man she can't ignore. Text 2. The tease text. Here's the truth no one tells you. Women crave being teased. Not bullied, not insulted, but playfully pulled into a game where you're the one setting the rules. The problem is, most men text like they're interviewing for a job. Polite, agreeable, trying to avoid risk. They think constant validation will win her over. It won't. Validation without challenge breeds boredom. And boredom is the graveyard of attraction. Psychologically, teasing works because it taps into two primal triggers: tension and reward. When you playfully nudge her, you're signaling that you're not intimidated. You're positioning yourself as the prize, the older man who doesn't need her approval. And that paradoxically makes her crave yours. Women test men constantly. A playful tease flips that dynamic. Now she's the one trying to prove herself to you. Let me paint the picture. David, 52, met a younger woman at a bookstore. They exchanged numbers. Instead of the standard "it was nice meeting you" text, David sent, "I still can't believe you read the last page of the book first. You're officially untrustworthy." She laughed, defended herself, and then doubled down with a flirtatious, "Maybe I'll ruin another one for you over coffee." What happened here? David gave her something better than a compliment. He gave her a game. Seneca once wrote, "It is difficulties that show what men are." In the realm of attraction, teasing is that difficulty. It gives her something to rise to chase, to overcome. Without resistance, there's no pursuit. Without pursuit, there's no fire. So your actionable shift is this. Instead of constantly trying to prove you like her, flip the frame. Tease her quirks. Call out her contradictions. If she sends you a glamorous selfie, don't drool. Say, "You look like trouble." Teasing isn't about cruelty. It's about creating sparks in a world of dull, predictable texts. Be the man who turns conversation into a playground, and she'll keep coming back to play. Text 3. The mystery. Text. If teasing lights the fire, mystery keeps it burning. Here's the brutal truth. Most men smother attraction by over-explaining, oversharing, and over-texting. They think giving her their entire life story will make her feel close. But closeness without curiosity is just familiarity, and familiarity kills desire. Women don't obsess over what they already know. They obsess over what they can't quite figure out. Psychologically, mystery taps into a woman's natural need for discovery. The unknown is far more intoxicating than the known. When you leave gaps, when you hint instead of dumping everything, her mind does the work for you. She starts filling in the blanks with her imagination. And trust me, her imagination is always more powerful than your literal explanation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you give her fragments, her thoughts paint you as larger than life. Let me give you an example. Tom, 48, matched with a younger woman on a dating app. She asked him, "So what do you do for work?" Instead of giving the typical corporate spiel, Tom said, "Let's just say I do something that requires sharp suits and sharper instincts." He didn't lie, but he also didn't hand her the boring resume. Her reply, "Now I'm curious. Tell me more." He made himself a puzzle and she wanted to solve it. Mystery works because it shifts the power dynamic. Instead of her evaluating you, she's the one chasing answers. Instead of her deciding whether you're worth her time, she's leaning in, trying to earn the privilege of knowing more. And here's the kicker. You don't need to fabricate stories or create fake drama. Mystery isn't about deception, it's about restraint. It's about knowing that silence is sometimes louder than words. Your actionable shift is this. Don't text like a salesman pitching your entire existence. Text like a man with places to be, people to see, and a life already in motion. Drop hints. Give incomplete sentences. Use pauses. If she asks what you're doing, don't write a novel. Say, "Can't tell you yet." But it's worth the wait. That tension, that space, is where obsession grows. Text 4. The command text. This is where most older men separate themselves from the needy herd. Women are constantly bombarded with indecisive, weak messages. What do you want to do? Are you free sometime? Maybe we could hang out if you want? That language reeks of hesitation. And hesitation is kryptonite to attraction. A woman doesn't want a man who asks permission to exist in her life. She wants a man who leads with clarity, who knows what he wants, and who says it without apology. From a psychological standpoint, commands signal dominance and certainty. Evolutionary biology hardwired women to respond to strength. When you frame your text as a clear directive rather than a flimsy suggestion, you bypass her logical brain and tap into her emotional wiring. She feels safer around a man who leads because safety is not just physical, it's psychological. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Wasting time on indecision is the surest way to kill a spark. Let's revisit Tom, 48. Instead of texting, "Do you want to hang out this weekend?" he wrote, "Saturday, 8 p.m. That wine bar you mentioned. Wear black." Direct, confident, decisive. Did she object? Not at all. She replied with a simple, "Fine, but you're buying the first round." Notice the shift. She's already playing into his frame, responding on his terms, not leading the interaction herself. Command texts work because they eliminate uncertainty. Women don't fall for men who beg to be chosen. They fall for men who already know they're worth choosing. The man who writes with command isn't worried about rejection because his value isn't tied to her approval. And paradoxically, that's exactly what makes her crave his approval. Your actionable shift here is simple. Stop writing like you're applying for a job. Start texting like the CEO who already owns the company. Give her a direction, give her a time, give her a tone. Don't ask if she's free, assume she'll want to join you. And if she doesn't, you move on without blinking. That unshakable certainty is more attractive than any fancy pickup line. Text 5, the unexpected vulnerability text. Now here's where most men get it twisted. They either hide every ounce of emotion like a stone wall, or they spill everything like a broken faucet. Both extremes kill attraction. Women aren't drawn to emotionless robots, and they're repelled by emotional dumpers. What actually makes her lean in closer, what actually makes her feel something she can't control, is when a man shows just enough vulnerability at the right moment. Not weakness. Vulnerability. There's a difference. Psychologically, controlled vulnerability activates trust and emotional bonding. It signals that beneath the armor there's a man who bleeds, who feels, who chooses to reveal a piece of himself. And choice is the key. When you choose to show her a glimpse, it means you're not doing it to be validated. You're doing it because you're secure enough not to care if she approves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." A good man doesn't hide behind a mask. He shows his humanity without drowning in it. Picture Tom again. He's texting a younger woman after their second date. Instead of sending another flirty line, he writes, "Truth? I don't open up to many people, but there's something about your energy that feels familiar." Boom. It's not a sob story. It's not a desperate plea. It's a precise, controlled moment of honesty that makes her feel special without making him seem fragile. And her reaction? She leaned in harder, texting back, "I feel the same." That's rare. This works because it balances the masculine frame with humanity. When you show her you're not afraid to open a small door into your inner world, you create emotional contrast. You're not just the strong, stoic leader, You're also the man who can risk a moment of truth. And that duality is intoxicating. Your actionable shift. Don't confuse vulnerability with overexposure. The next time you want to deepen her attraction, don't dump your insecurities into her inbox. Drop a single line that reveals a flicker of what's real. Then leave it at that. Vulnerability without restraint is chaos. Vulnerability with control is magnetic. Text 6. The silence. Text. Here's the paradox most men never grasp. Sometimes the most powerful text you can send is no text at all. In a world where women are bombarded by constant notifications, non-stop pings, and desperate paragraphs from men trying to earn their attention, silence cuts deeper than anything you could possibly write. It isn't emptiness, it's presence. It's the thunder that follows after lightning. Psychologically, silence triggers uncertainty, and uncertainty is one of the strongest forces in attraction. When she's used to men replying instantly, over-explaining or double-texting like teenagers in panic mode, your pause unsettles her. She starts asking herself, why isn't he replying? Is he busy? Is he seeing someone else? Did I lose him? That tension makes her lean forward. She starts investing mentally and emotionally, even though you haven't typed a single word. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Silence is a reaction, a deliberate one. Take Tom again. After a playful back and forth with a younger woman, instead of keeping the conversation alive just for the sake of it, he let it breathe. Hours passed. No message. By evening, she texted first, "You went quiet. What are you up to?" His absence made her chase. That's the power of disciplined silence. It makes her step into the arena instead of you doing all the heavy lifting. But here's the razor's edge. Silence must be intentional, not lazy. If you disappear because you're afraid or clueless, that's weakness. But if you use silence like a sculptor uses negative space, you create shape, texture, and depth in the interaction. You're not ignoring her. You're training her to feel your presence even when you're not speaking. Your actionable shift is this. Don't treat texting like oxygen. Constant, automatic, necessary. Treat it like fire. Precise, scarce, powerful when released. Sometimes the strongest message you send is the one you don't send. Text 7. The push-pull text. If silence creates tension, push-pull creates obsession. This is the dance that keeps a woman's emotions on edge, hot one moment, cold the next. Done right, it's magnetic. Done wrong, it's cruelty. The secret isn't manipulation, it's contrast. Attraction thrives on contrast. The warm sun after the cold rain, the calm after chaos. Without contrast, everything feels flat. With contrast, every word hits harder. Psychologically, push-pull works because it mimics the unpredictability of early romance. Her brain releases dopamine when she can't quite predict what's coming next. If you're too predictable, she gets bored. If you're too erratic, she gets scared. But the perfect balance, playful warmth followed by subtle withdrawal, keeps her chasing that emotional high. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By standing in the way for a moment, by pulling back after leaning in, you actually move her forward. Picture Tom again. He texts a younger woman. "You know I shouldn't be saying this, but you looked incredible in that dress." That's the pull. Direct, warm, flattering. Then he follows it a few minutes later with, "Anyway, don't let it go to your head. You're still trouble." That's the push. Playful resistance. She laughs, she blushes, and most importantly, she wants more. Push-pull works because it triggers pursuit. When you lean in, she feels validated. When you lean back, she feels challenged. It's that friction, that interplay of opposites that makes her wake up thinking about you. You're not spoon-feeding constant approval, nor are you withholding everything. You're feeding her in doses, like a master craftsman shaping stone with both pressure and release. Your actionable shift. Stop texting like you're trying to prove how much you like her. That's a one-way street. Instead, play the two-step. Compliment, then tease. Invite, then delay. Lean in, then pull away. This isn't about being cruel. It's about creating emotional electricity that no good morning beautiful text can ever replicate. Text 8. The frame setting. Text. Here's a truth bomb most men never swallow. In every interaction, one person sets the frame and the other plays inside it. The frame is the unspoken rules, the invisible container of the relationship. If she sets the frame, you'll find yourself reacting to her, chasing her approval, and constantly negotiating for scraps of her attention. But when you set the frame, she adapts to your reality. That's not arrogance, that's leadership. Psychologically, frame control is the essence of masculine energy. It communicates authority without aggression, certainty without desperation. Women are evolutionarily wired to test a man's frame, to poke, prod, and challenge, because only a man who can hold it without cracking is worth following. Epictetus said it best, "No man is free who is not master of himself," and frame begins with mastery over yourself. Look at Tom, 48, again. After a younger woman teased him for being too old to keep up, most men would get defensive. Instead, he texted back, "You're right. I don't keep up. I set the pace." That single line shifted the entire dynamic. She realized she wasn't pulling him into her frame, he was pulling her into his. And suddenly, the age gap wasn't a disadvantage. It was a throne. Frame-setting texts work because they create an arena where attraction can thrive without chaos. Instead of bending to her mood swings, you're defining the terms of engagement. Instead of trying to win her approval, you're making it clear she has to win yours. That subtle but profound shift changes everything. Your actionable shift. Stop texting as if she's the prize and you're the applicant. Every time you send a message, ask yourself, am I leading her into my frame or am I following hers? Frame setting isn't about being controlling. It's about being unshakable. The man who owns the frame owns the story, and the man who owns the story always wins the woman. Text 9, the scarcity text. Here's the raw truth. Abundance is cheap. Scarcity is priceless. A diamond is just a rock until scarcity makes it rare. The same applies to you. If you're constantly available, instantly replying, flooding her with attention, your value drops. Not because you aren't valuable, but because human psychology equates scarcity with importance. The things we can't have are the things we crave the most. From a psychological standpoint, scarcity triggers what behavioral scientists call reactance, the natural resistance people feel when they sense something slipping out of reach. When you are not always available, when you respond on your time instead of hers, she subconsciously elevates you above the endless crowd of men tripping over themselves for her. Seneca warned, "Nothing is so contemptible as the man who allows himself to be a doormat. Scarcity is the antidote." Take Tom, 48, again. Instead of sending her constant check-ins like, "How's your day?" every hour, he played it differently. She messaged mid-morning, "What are you up to?" Tom didn't reply until evening. His response was simple. "Just got back from the gym, long day. You'd have laughed watching me struggle with those weights." Casual, light, but hours later. She had been waiting, wondering, checking her phone. That waiting made his words land with 10 times the power. Scarcity works because it forces her to invest. When you're not instantly accessible, she imagines what you're doing, who you're with, and why you aren't glued to your phone like every other man. That imagination fuels desire more than any message you could send. You stop being just a guy she texts, and you become the man whose attention feels earned. Your actionable shift. Stop treating your time and attention like cheap candy. Treat it like rare whiskey. Not everyone gets a taste, and never too much at once. Answer when it makes sense for you, not when she demands it. Scarcity creates value. And the man who is valued is the man who is pursued. Text 10. The desire amplifier. Text. Every great conversation has a climax, a moment where the tension flips into obsession. This is where most men fumble. They either let the energy fade into endless small talk, or they try too hard and suffocate the spark. The desire amplifier text is different. It's the carefully placed line that escalates attraction from playful interest into undeniable longing. It's not begging, it's not explicit. It's suggestion, dripping with implication, leaving her craving more. Psychologically, this works because it awakens her imagination, and imagination is the most powerful aphrodisiac. Women don't fall in love with facts. They fall in love with feelings, with the image they create in their minds. When you send a text that hints at what could be, but doesn't fully say it, her brain fills in the blanks. That gap between reality and fantasy is where obsession grows. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. You want her thoughts dyed with you. Think of Tom 48 again. After weeks of playful teasing, mystery, and command, he sent her this. I can't decide if you're the kind of trouble I should run from, or the kind I want to get lost in. That's it. Not dirty, not needy. Just a line that turned her curiosity into desire. She replied instantly, You're not allowed to run. And from that moment, the dynamic flipped. She wasn't just interested, she was invested. The desire amplifier works because it's the crescendo of everything else you've built. The teasing, the mystery, the command, the push-pull, the scarcity. Without those, this text would fall flat. But with them, it lands like a spark in dry grass. It escalates her emotions while keeping your frame intact. Your actionable shift. Don't rush to amplify desire. Earn it through tension, through restraint, through the other 9 weapons. Then, at the right moment, drop a single line that opens the door to intimacy without forcing it. Suggest, don't demand. Hint, don't declare. When done right, she won't just respond, she'll chase. At the end of the day, these 10 texts aren't really about the words. They're about the man who sends them. A weak man can copy these lines and still fail because he doesn't embody the frame, the strength, the restraint behind them. But a man who has mastered himself, who knows his value, who leads without apology, who doesn't crumble under silence, that man could send almost anything and still pull her in. The text is just the spark. The man is the fire. This is why the Stoics still echo through time. Seneca warned us, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. You can send endless messages, chase women, beg for attention, but without direction, without principle, all that effort is wasted. The point isn't to learn tricks. The point is to become the kind of man who naturally inspires pursuit. The texts are the tactics. The philosophy is the strategy. And without strategy, tactics are nothing. So here's your resolution. Don't just memorize lines. Become the man who earns the right to use them. A man who commands respect with his silence, who creates desire with his restraint, who amplifies passion without losing control. That's the kind of man younger women chase, not because of a single text, but because of the rare masculine energy behind it. Now, I want you to prove something. If you've watched this far, you're not like the rest. You're part of the small percentage of men willing to hear the raw, unfiltered truth. So drop this phrase in the comments right now. I am the frame. That tells me you understand the power isn't in her replies. It's in your presence. And of course, hit that subscribe button and join the brotherhood. Because every week I'm dropping more weapons, more strategies, more stoic wisdom to sharpen you into the man she can't ignore and the world can't break. Remember, the game isn't about chasing women. It's about mastering yourself. And once you do that, the chase flips. She comes to you.